Happening tonight, a major shutdown to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Good evening, I'm Mark Wright. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Joyce Taylor. Governor Jay Inslee is ordering restaurants, bars, gyms, entertainment venues statewide to close until at least the end of the month. Within just the last hour, the health department released new coronavirus numbers. There are now 48 deaths confirmed in our state out of 904 overall cases. The governor is also banning any gathering of 50 people or more. King County Executive Dale Constantine says that this major transition is happening at a critical moment in this crisis. Health officials expect the number of coronavirus cases to continue to double every 5 to 7 days unless we take significant action.
Unless we are successful doing what I'm suggesting, which is everybody stays 6 feet away from everybody else under all conditions, we're going to have a real strain on our hospitals.
That was the governor today, and not included in the shutdown, grocery stores, pharmacies, banks, and gas stations. They will stay open, and restaurants can still offer takeout, drive-through, and delivery.
Well, these new changes mean businesses are either scrambling to close for the long haul or looking for solutions to keep going. The outbreak especially is tough on restaurants tonight. Seattle's iconic Canlis restaurant decided to open a drive-through lunch line today and has other plans for later this week. King 5's Michael Crow was there today and is live now in Seattle with what businesses are facing. Michael, good evening.
Yeah, and in a word, it's tough. This is Serafina, right off Lake Union here today, and workers were busy cleaning up and preparing the restaurant for what could be a long-term closure, while across the lake at Canlis, business was booming.
This is the most traffic folks have seen around here in a while. That's what happens when Canlis gets into the drive-through business.
Apparently it's a brisk business. So we're taking this one day at a time.
A Seattle fine dining staple.
Perfect. And they have the order and they will run it out here shortly.
Turned curbside casual.
Take ice cream sandwiches.
Because of coronavirus.
This is a great solution because there's no touching and it's pretty safe and easy to get food.
It's crazy. It's a little bit of fun in a scary time.
A nice solution, some say, to officials closing bars and restaurants.
I was very excited to see this announcement and wanted to come out and support it.
Wax on, wax off.
Sanitized and separated, Canlis says this lets them pay staff and keep guests safe.
This is not the time for fine dining right now. And so we wanted a way that we could actually keep feeding the city through this season. And every day we're just adjusting to figure out how we can make that happen.
Though some are not so lucky. Across Lake Union at Serafina.
Around this time, we would have probably about 7 or 8 cooks in the kitchen, just getting set up for a normal dinner service.
They are a different kind of busy today, packing up food for a long closure.
I know Governor Inslee said until the 31st of this month, but my gut tells me that this thing's going to last a little bit longer. I'm kind of using the school closures as a guideline for us.
They've been forced to lay off their staff, so they're saving what food they can before some goes to workers, the rest to a food pantry.
Will definitely hurt the business. It really will, but at least we know that we're doing something to benefit the community or some other people who are in need at this time.
Burger and a Caesar salad.
There are bright spots amid these social distancing measures.
They are good.
But at least right now, that appears to be the exception, not the rule.
Thank you, burger and a milk.
It's a scary time, and we all just need to kind of come together and find solutions to help each other out.
And this is not the only restaurant worried about those long-term impacts. You'll remember just last week we were talking to Pincho in Belltown that is closing forever because of the drop in traffic. Tough times ahead. Live in Seattle, I'm Michael Crow, King 5 News.
Michael, thank you. We have some new polling numbers out tonight about how concerned people are they will get coronavirus. The exclusive poll conducted by Survey USA asked people all over the country that question. The most popular response was somewhat, with 35%. 28% of those asked said they were not very concerned, while the responses for extremely and not at all were about the same number of people.
If Wall Street is a sign of what's to come, buckle up. The Dow had its worst point drop ever as stocks tumbled today, closing its lowest level in nearly 3 decades. The 13% drop added up to 2,999 points. The last time the Dow lost this much in a single day was back in 1987. So here's a look at how the other indices closed the day. Both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 saw 12% losses.
So even with new restrictions here in Washington, restricting businesses, closing schools, limiting crowds to 50 people, President Trump is urging even tougher guidelines.
My administration is recommending that all Americans, including the young and healthy, work to engage in schooling from home when possible, avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people, avoid discretionary travel, and avoid eating and drinking at bars, restaurants, and public food courts.
The president added the pandemic may continue through July or even August.
Well, tomorrow is the day that all schools across the state must shut down until April 24th. Some districts closed early and students are already out of class. This order from the governor impacts 1.2 million students in 295 districts across our state. School districts are working on plans to deliver assignments to students, but delivering food is a higher priority. King 5's Drew Mickelson met some families getting fed thanks to school districts. And Drew, you also got a little bit of advice at the same time, right?
Yeah, we had one of those hard to believe coincidences come up as we were gathering some interviews for this story. You'll see that in just a second. But let's talk about the numbers. Almost half of the students in the state rely on free or reduced breakfasts and lunches, and the districts know that demand is not going away just because the schools have closed.
This is a completely unprecedented time and situation.
The staff at Lydia Hawk Elementary put together 300 meals over the weekend. But would anyone show up to get them?
We hope it's going to work.
While classrooms are empty, the district is working on ways to teach remotely eventually. But in a school where more than 70% of the students qualify for free or reduced meals, they can't wait on delivering food.
If you're not nourished, you can't learn. So that's what we say, and I think we might have our first customer. How many? Lunch and breakfast for tomorrow, okay?
They handed out about 100 meals in just the first hour.
Got it.
Some to elementary students who walk to campus by themselves.
It's wonderful, actually, because I just went to the stores today and everything was sold out, and it was kind of scary. And I have 2 kids, and they're very hungry. It's just really weird.
Mo Moran has 5 brothers and sisters.
We're just very grateful for programs like this.
Mom Barbara Moran is worried the outbreak might cost her her job.
I just take it in stride. You just, one day at a time, that's all you can do.
Just the day-to-day, because that's exactly what we're living.
She had that same attitude when we first met her 12 years ago in the early stages of the Great Recession.
Shall we make our own homemade gravy? It's cheaper.
Finding ways to make ends meet during another hard time.
Remember, you saved your pennies.
That little boy, Matthew, is now a sophomore.
Just adapt, I guess.
But his mother's approach is the same.
Here are your breakfasts.
If we rely on each other and work together, we'll be okay.
Now, here we are again in one of these situations to where people are in need, and the district rises to the occasion. We very much appreciate it. Amazing, right? Barbara's parents survived the Great Depression. She obviously survived the Great Recession, and she says she and her family will survive this as well. Nice ending to the story there. While the Olympia schools didn't only rely on the drive-thrus, they were also delivering bag lunches to apartments today. Go to your school's website to see what they're doing. Different districts are doing different things. Some are using school buses. Here at Tumwater tomorrow, they'll start midday service as a drive-through, and they're also going to open up this lane between 5 and 6 p.m. for folks who have to work. Live in Tumwater, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
All right, Drew, thank you. So interesting to connect with him so many years later. Well, here's no surprise. We found huge crowds outside several Costco locations in the Seattle area today. The parking lots were busy. People lined up outside the store here in SoDo that you're looking at. Many stores across the country are closing a little earlier in the evening now to give their employees more time to stock all those shelves overnight. King County's Executive Dow Constantine has a message for everyone stocking up on supplies right now. Take a look at his tweet. It says, Now stop hoarding toilet paper. Buy what you need, leave some for the rest. Some good advice there. Meantime, Amazon needs 100,000 new employees because it needs to fill so many orders right now. Instead of standing in line at the store, a lot of people are shopping online right now. Amazon is filling a range of jobs from warehouse workers to delivery drivers. As for their current hourly employees, they're getting a $2 an hour raise until the end of April.
Well, starting on Wednesday, Canada's border is going to be closed to people who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents. There are some exceptions.
This measure will carve out some designated exceptions, including for air crews, diplomats, immediate family members of Canadian citizens, and, at this time, U.S. citizens.
Canada is also restricting international arrivals to 4 airports. Airlines will be required to prevent passengers from boarding if they show any symptoms of coronavirus. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is in his 4th day of self-isolation. His wife Sophie tested positive for the virus last week.
The airports have been on the front lines of trying to keep that virus out of the country. Here's a live look at SeaTac Airport tonight. And that remains to be true as the U.S. barred travel from much of Europe last week and then added England and Ireland over the weekend. King 5's aviation specialist Glenn Farley is live at SeaTac tonight. So, Glenn, what happens when Americans land at SeaTac after traveling from overseas?
It seems to be a variety of things, but the question is one of inconsistency. Now, when you come in on an international arrival, you go to a place that's not normally open to our cameras, and part of that is supposed to include health screening. The question is how much real screening is going on.
SeaTac's International Arrivals facility is in the basement of the South Satellite, and it can be a crazy place. But note, these pictures are from our files. Last night, when the British Airways flight landed from Heathrow in London, it was pretty empty.
No screening, no temp check, no nothing.
Sylvia Pepperman found herself like a lot of Americans, scrambling to get home, cutting her vacation short after completing a small ship cruise in Greece.
Oh, it's business as usual. We had a great time. But the only thing different was no high fives, no handshaking. We're trying not to shake hands. We would do elbows or fist bumps.
She was rerouted from Athens, one of the countries affected by the presidential ban of last week, through London on British Airways. As an American, she can return. That wasn't the problem. But she was expecting more when she got here. She filled out 2 copies of this health form, plus another form for the CDC, then got off the plane.
We get off the aircraft, we walk down the ramp. We were met by 2 people in hazmat suits with face masks. There were some EMTs there. There was another woman. I don't know who she represented. I don't know if she was with the CDC, if she was with Port of Seattle. I have no idea. We showed her our 2 forms. She took the health form from us, and that was it. We walked off. We went on our way, got our bags, went through customs, and left the airport.
So you never got a form that said go ahead and quarantine yourself for 14 days?
No, nothing.
Now we've heard similar stories from others as well. By the way, Sylvia says she had 2 other friends on that cruise, on that vacation, who came back through other U.S. airports, Newark and then also Dulles in Washington, D.C. The person who went through Newark did have their temperature taken. The one that went through Newark did not have temperature taken, and Homeland Security says that kind of depends on your situation, but that person was interviewed. She says in her case, at least, neither one of those happened here. Live at SeaTac Airport, Glenn Farley, King 5 News.
Glenn, thank you.